The crack of a branch snapped me out of my thoughts. I froze, my boots sinking into the damp spring soil, the air thick with the scent of pine and wet earth. Late May in these Oregon woods always felt alive, but that sound wasn't right. It wasn't a deer or a fox. It was sharp, desperate. Then came the cry, a high-pitched, gut-wrenching squeal that made my heart lurch. I dropped my pack and ran toward it, branches clawing at my jacket. I pushed through the underbrush, my breath heavy, until I broke into a small clearing. That's when I saw it. A bear cub, no bigger than a dog, thrashing on the forest floor. Its fur was matted with mud, and its eyes were wide with panic. Wrapped around its body was a massive python, its scales glinting in the dappled sunlight. The snake's coils tightened, and the cub let out another weak cry. My stomach twisted. I'd seen plenty in these woods, coyotes, owls, even a mountain lion once, but nothing like this. Pythons didn't belong here. This was wrong. I stood there, heart pounding, trying to make sense of it. My hand went to the radio on my belt, but I hesitated. I'm Jake, a rookie forester, barely 6 months into this job. I'm supposed to report things like this, right? But the cub's eyes locked onto mine, and for a second, I wasn't in the forest. I was back in my childhood home, watching my sister Lily nurse an injured sparrow back to health. She'd sit there for hours, her small hands steady, whispering to it like it could understand. Lily loved animals more than anything. She'd have run straight at that snake without a second thought. But Lily's gone now, and I'm not her. I'm not that brave. Hey, Jake, you copy? Emma's voice crackled through the radio, snapping me back. She's my coworker, a biologist who knows these woods better than anyone. I fumbled with the radio, my hands shaking. Yeah, Emma, I'm here, I said, my voice low. You're not going to believe this. There's a bear cub out here, caught by a python. A python? Her tone was sharp, skeptical. Jake, you sure you're not seeing things? I'm staring at it right now, I said, my eyes fixed on the cub. Its struggles were slowing, its breath shallow. It's bad, Emma. Real bad. Stay put, she said. I'm grabbing Tom. We'll be there in 20. Tom. Great. Our senior ranger. A guy who'd rather let nature sort itself out than lift a finger. I could already hear his gruff voice telling me to walk away. But I couldn't. Not yet. I crouched low, keeping my distance, scanning the snake. It was huge, maybe 12 feet long, its body thick as my arm. Its head was still, watching the cub like it had all the time in the world. I didn't know much about snakes, but I knew that look. It wasn't letting go. I glanced around, hoping for what? A stick? A miracle? The forest was quiet now, too quiet, like it was holding its breath. My mind raced. If I got too close, that snake could turn on me. But if I did nothing, that cub was done for. I thought of Lily again, her voice in my head. You can't just walk away, Jake. You can't. I took a step forward, my boots crunching on leaves. The snake's head twitched, its tongue flicking out. My heart stopped. Okay, bad idea. I backed up, my hands raised like I was surrendering. Easy, I whispered, more to myself than the snake. Just stay calm. Minutes dragged on, each one heavier than the last. The cub's cries were softer now, barely a whimper. I felt helpless, rooted to the spot. I kept thinking about Lily, how she'd begged me to help her save every stray cat or wounded bird. She was only 16 when she died, hit by a drunk driver on her way home from school. That was 3 years ago, and I still carry it like a weight in my chest. Helping this cub wouldn't bring her back, but it felt like something she'd want me to do. The rustle of footsteps broke my thoughts. Emma burst through the trees, her blonde braids swinging, her face all business. Tom trailed behind, his gray beard catching the light, his expression sour as usual. Jesus, Jake, Emma said, her eyes wide as she saw the cub. That's no joke. Told you, I said, my voice tight. Tom snorted, folding his arms. Exotic pet, probably. Some idiot's illegal zoo lost its prize. Happens more than you think. We gotta do something, I said, glancing at the cub. Its eyes were half closed now, its body limp in the snake's grip. Do what? Tom said, his voice flat. That cub's done for. You want to get yourself killed over it? Emma shot him a look. Tom, come on. We can't just stand here. I'm not risking my neck for a lost cause, he said, turning away. You two want to play hero, be my guest. I clenched my fists, anger bubbling up. Tom's always like this, cold, practical. But Emma was already kneeling, rummaging through her pack. We need a plan, Jake, she said. That snake's not letting go unless we make it. I nodded, my mind racing. The cub's whimpers were barely audible now, and the python's coils tightened again, a slow, deliberate squeeze. Tom was running out. I looked at Emma, her face set with determination, and I knew we were in this together. But as I stared at that snake, a chill ran through me. This wasn't just about saving a cub. Something about this felt bigger, more dangerous. And I had no idea what we were walking into. The sun was dipping low, casting long shadows through the pines as we stood there, staring at the bear cub. Its whimpers had stopped, and the python's coils were still, like it knew it had won. My chest ached, not just from the run through the forest, but from the weight of it all. I kept seeing Lily's face, her soft smile when she'd talk about saving every creature she found. I couldn't let this cub die. Not like this. Emma was pacing, her boots kicking up dirt. We need to know what we're dealing with. Jake, she said, her voice steady but urgent. That python's not native. Someone brought it here. Tom scoffed, leaning against a tree. Told you. Some rich fool's illegal pet. Probably got bored and let it loose. Happens all the time. I shot him a look. So we just give up? Let it kill the cub? He shrugged, his eyes cold. Nature's brutal, kid. You can't save everything. I wanted to yell, to shake him, but Emma put a hand on my arm. Ignore him, she said. Let's figure this out. You said it's about 12 feet long, right? Any markings? I nodded, trying to focus. Dark scales, yellow patches. Like a patchwork quilt, almost. She frowned, pulling out her phone. Sounds like a reticulated python. They're not just big, they're strong. And if it's hungry, it's not letting go without a fight. A fight. The words hung heavy. I glanced at the cub again, its body barely moving. We didn't have time for this. Emma, what do we do? I asked, my voice cracking. She looked at me, her eyes sharp. We need help. Equipment, maybe tranquilizers. But first, we need to know where this thing came from. Tom snorted again. Good luck. Nearest zoo's 100 miles away, and they don't lose pythons. Check with the locals. Someone's got a dirty secret. I hated admitting it, but he was right. We needed answers. Emma and I hiked back to the ranger station, a small wooden building tucked at the edge of town. The air inside smelled like coffee and old paper. Tom stayed behind, muttering about paperwork, but I knew he just didn't care. At the station, Emma dug through files while I called the sheriff's office. Sheriff Dan picked up, his voice gruff but familiar. A python? He said, skeptical. You sure, Jake? I'm sure, Dan. It's got a bear cub. We need to know if anyone's reported anything weird. Exotic animals, shady dealers, anything. He sighed. I'll ask around. But you know this town. People keep secrets. Check with Old Man Carter. He's got that sketchy pet shop on Route 12. Might know something. I hung up, my stomach twisting. Carter's shop was a dump. Cages stacked floor to ceiling, half the animals looking sick. If anyone was smuggling snakes, it'd be him. Emma looked up from her laptop, her face pale. Jake, I found something. There's a report from last year. A guy in the next county got busted for keeping exotic animals. Pythons, crocodiles, you name it. His place got raided, but some animals were never accounted for. Like a 12-foot python? I asked, leaning over her shoulder. Maybe. She scrolled through the report. Says the guy's name was Vernon Holt. Lived out by the old mill. If that snake's his, it's been out here a while. Could be more than one. More than one. The thought hit me like a punch. I pictured another snake slithering through the woods, waiting. Emma must have seen my face because she grabbed my hand. We'll figure it out, Jake. One step at a time. I nodded, but my mind was racing. We agreed to check Carter's shop tomorrow. It was getting dark, and we couldn't do much without gear. I drove home, my truck rattling along the dirt road. My place was a small cabin just outside town, nothing fancy, but it was home. Inside, I dropped onto the couch, staring at the ceiling. Lily's photo sat on the mantel, her smile frozen in time. I kept thinking about that cub, about how she'd have fought for it. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was failing her all over again. That night, I couldn't sleep. The forest was too quiet outside my window, like it was hiding something. I got up, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and stepped onto the porch. The air was cool, the stars bright above the trees. I took a sip, trying to calm my nerves, when I heard it, a low, rustling sound, like something heavy dragging through the leaves. My heart stopped. I set the beer down, my hand going to the flashlight on my belt. I flicked it on, scanning the trees. Nothing. Just shadows. But the sound came again, closer this time, from the edge of the woods. I stood there, frozen, the beam shaking in my hand. Whatever was out there, it wasn't a deer. It wasn't a bear. And I had a sinking feeling it wasn't alone. I barely slept after hearing that rustling outside my cabin. The sound stuck with me, like a warning I couldn't shake. By morning, my head was foggy, but I dragged myself out of bed, threw on my jacket, and headed to meet Emma at the ranger station. The air was crisp, the kind of late May morning where the forest smells fresh but feels heavy, like it's hiding something. I kept thinking about that cub, its tiny body caught in the python's grip. We had to move fast. Emma was already at the station when I got there, hunched over a table covered in maps and gear. Her eyes were bloodshot, like she hadn't slept either. "Morning, Jake," she said, not looking up. "I called in a favor. Got a tranquilizer gun coming from the county office, but it won't be here till tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" I said, my voice sharper than I meant. "That cub might not have tomorrow." "I know," she said, meeting my eyes. "But we can't just charge in. That python's not a pet snake. It's a predator. We need a plan, and we need to be smart." I nodded, rubbing my face. She was right, but every second we waited felt like a betrayal. I kept seeing Lily's face, her voice in my head pushing me to act. Emma spread out a map of the forest, pointing to the clearing where we'd seen the cub. "Here's where it went down," she said. "We'll need to distract the snake, maybe use bait. But we've got no backup, no real gear. Just us." "What about Carter's shop?" I asked, remembering Sheriff Dan's tip. "If he knows something about that python, we need to talk to him." Emma frowned. "Carter's a creep, but yeah, it's worth a shot. Let's go after we sort this out." We spent the next hour hashing out a plan. Step 1. Get to the cub without getting ourselves killed. Step 2. Distract the python long enough to free the cub. Step 3. Get the cub out before the snake, or anything else, turned on us. It sounded simple, but every step felt like a gamble. Emma suggested using a long pole to prod the snake, maybe loosen its grip. I wasn't convinced, but it was better than nothing. We bring a first aid kit for the cub, assuming we could even get it free. As we talked, I felt the weight of it all pressing down. I don't know why this cub mattered so much, but it did. Maybe it was because of Lily. I hadn't told Emma about her yet, but the words were clawing their way out. I took a breath, staring at the map. "My sister, Lily, she died 3 years ago," I said, my voice low. "She was 16. Loved animals. Would have done anything to save that cub." Emma stopped, her hand frozen on the map. "Jake, I'm so sorry," she said, her voice soft. "Is that why you're so set on this?" I shrugged, my throat tight. "Maybe. I can't let it die. Not if I can do something." She nodded, her eyes steady. "Then we'll do it together. For the cub. For Lily." I swallowed hard, grateful for her. Emma had this way of making things feel possible, even when they weren't. We packed up ropes, a pole, a knife, the first aid kit, and headed to Carter's shop. The place was a rundown shack on Route 12, the kind of spot you'd drive past without a second glance. Inside, it smelled like damp fur and cheap air freshener. Cages lined the walls, parrots squawking, lizards staring blankly. Carter, a wiry guy with a gray ponytail, was behind the counter, eyeing us like we were trouble. "What do you want?" he said, barely glancing up from his phone. "Heard about any pythons lately?" I asked, keeping my tone even. "Big one, out in the woods. Got a bear cub." Carter's eyes flicked up, just for a second, but it was enough. He knew something. "Pythons ain't local," he said, shrugging. "Probably some kid's pet got loose." "Cut the crap," Emma said, leaning forward. "We know about Vernon Holt. His animals. You know anything about that?" Carter's face hardened. "I don't know no Vernon. And I don't deal in snakes. You got questions, talk to the sheriff." We left, frustrated but not surprised. Carter was hiding something, but we didn't have time to push. Back at the station, we grabbed our gear and headed to the clearing. The forest was quieter than yesterday, the air thick with tension. When we reached the spot, the cub was still there, barely moving, the python's coils tied around it. My heart sank. We were running out of time. Emma set up the pole while I scanned the area, my flashlight cutting through the shadows. That's when I saw them, tracks in the mud, big ones. Bear tracks. Fresh. My stomach dropped. "Emma," I said, my voice low. "We've got company." She followed my gaze, her face paling. "That's a mama bear," she whispered. "If she's close, we're in trouble." We stood there, frozen, listening. The forest was silent, but I could feel it, something watching us. The cub whimpered, and the python's head twitched, its eyes locked on us. We had a plan, but now we had a new problem. If that mama bear showed up, we'd be caught between her and the snake. And I had no idea if we'd make it out. The forest felt like it was closing in on us, the air thick with the scent of pine and danger. The bear cub's faint whimpers cut through the silence, and the python's coils gleamed in the late afternoon light, still wrapped tight around its prey. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. Those bear tracks we'd found, big, fresh, and way too close, meant the mama bear was nearby. Emma and I exchanged a look, her face pale but determined. We had a plan, but it was falling apart fast. "Jake, we can't wait," Emma whispered, gripping the pole we'd brought to prod the snake. "That cub's barely breathing. We do this now, or we lose it." I nodded, my hands sweaty on the rope I held. Our plan was shaky: distract the python, free the cub, get out before anything else went wrong. But those tracks changed everything. If the mama bear showed up, we'd be in more trouble than we could handle. I took a step toward the python, my boots sinking into the mud. The snake's head snapped up, its black eyes locking onto me. I froze, my breath catching. "Easy," I muttered, more to myself than the snake. Emma moved to the side, holding the pole like a spear. "I'll try to get its attention," she said. "You get ready to grab the cub." I didn't like it. Splitting up felt wrong, but we were out of options. I crept closer, the rope looped in my hands, my eyes darting between the snake and the trees. Every rustle made me flinch, expecting a bear to charge out of the shadows. The cub's eyes were half open, its body limp. I could see its chest barely moving. "Come on, little guy," I whispered. "Hang in there." Emma jabbed the pole toward the python's tail. The snake hissed, its coils loosening slightly as it turned toward her. "Now, Jake," she yelled. I lunged forward, dropping to my knees beside the cub. My hands shook as I tried to slip the rope under the snake's coils, hoping to pull them apart. The python's body was heavy, like trying to move a tire. I tugged, and the cub let out a weak squeal. My heart leapt. It was still alive. But then I heard it. A low, guttural growl from the trees. My blood ran cold. Emma's eyes widened, and she spun around, the pole still in her hands. "Jake," she said, her voice tight. "Don't move." I didn't need to look to know what was there. The mama bear stepped into the clearing, her massive frame blocking the sunlight. Her fur was dark, her eyes fixed on us, and her lips curled back to show teeth that could rip us apart. She was close, too close. The python hissed again, its attention now split between us and the bear. I was caught in the middle, the cub at my feet, the rope useless in my hands. "Emma, get back," I said, my voice low. She didn't move, her eyes locked on the bear. The mama bear took a step forward, her growl louder now, shaking the air. I could feel the panic rising, my mind screaming to run, but I couldn't leave the cub. Not now. Not after everything. "Emma, go?" I shouted, my voice cracking. She hesitated, then started backing away, the pole still raised. The bear's eyes flicked to her, then back to me. I was too close to her cub, and she knew it. My mind raced, thinking of Lily, how she'd always tell me to be brave. I wasn't brave, not really, but I couldn't let this cub die. I dropped the rope and grabbed the knife from my belt, my hands shaking so bad I nearly dropped it. The python tightened its grip again, and the cub's squeal was weaker now, almost gone. I had seconds, maybe less. The bear roared, a sound that shook my bones, and charged a step closer. I was trapped, snake on one side, bear on the other. Emma was yelling something, but I couldn't hear her over the blood pounding in my ears. I raised the knife, not even sure what I was going to do with it. Cut the snake? Fight the bear? It was crazy, but I was out of ideas. Then it happened. The python's head lunged toward me, jaws open. I stumbled back, the knife slipping from my hand into the mud. The bear roared again, and I heard Emma scream. Everything was chaos: teeth, scales, fur, and my own heartbeat drowning it all out. I didn't think. I just acted. I dove for the cub, my hands clawing at the python's coils, pulling with everything I had. The snake's body twisted, and I felt its scales slide against my skin, cold and heavy. The cub gasped, a tiny sound that gave me hope. But the bear was coming. I could hear her paws hitting the ground, feel the air shift as she closed in. I had one shot, one desperate move to make this right. And I took it, not knowing if it would save the cub or get us all killed. My hands were buried in the python's coils, slick with mud and sweat, as I pulled with everything I had. The bear cub gasped, a faint sound that kept me going. The mama bear's roar was deafening, her paws shaking the ground as she charged closer. Emma was shouting, her voice a distant blur, but I couldn't stop. Not now. The python's body twitched, its head swinging toward me, jaws wide. I yanked harder, and the cub's body shifted, its tiny chest heaving. It was free, just barely, but I wasn't done yet. I scooped the cub into my arms, its fur warm and matted, and stumbled back. The python lunged, but the mama bear was faster. She barreled into the clearing, her massive frame knocking branches aside. I dove to the side, clutching the cub, as her paw swiped through the air where I'd been standing. The python hissed, its coils thrashing, now caught in the bear's path. Emma grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the trees. "Move, Jake," she yelled. We ran, my legs burning, the cub heavy in my arms. Its breathing was shallow, but it was alive. We crashed through the underbrush, the bear's roars echoing behind us. I didn't dare look back. Emma led the way, her flashlight cutting through the darkening forest. We reached a small ridge, sliding down into a ditch where we crouched, panting. The cub whimpered, and I set it down gently, checking its body. Its ribs were bruised, maybe broken, but it was still with us. Emma's face was streaked with dirt, her eyes wide. "You okay?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Yeah," I said, catching my breath. "You?" She nodded, but her hands were trembling. "That was too close, Jake. Way too close." I looked down at the cub, its eyes half open, staring up at me. I thought of Lily, how she'd have smiled seeing this little guy safe. But was it safe? The bear's roars had stopped, replaced by an eerie silence. The python was still out there, and so was the mama bear. We weren't out of danger yet. "We need to get this cub to the station," I said, my voice low. "It needs a vet." Emma agreed, but her face was grim. "If that bear's still out there, we're not out of the woods." Literally. We wrapped the cub in my jacket, keeping it warm, and started the trek back. The forest was quiet now, too quiet, like it was watching us. Every snap of a twig made my heart jump. When we reached the ranger station, it was dark, the only light coming from the flickering bulb outside. We laid the cub on a table inside, and Emma started cleaning its wounds while I called the local vet. She promised to come first thing tomorrow, but for now, we were on our own. I sank into a chair, exhausted. Emma sat across from me, her hands still bloody from the cub's wounds. "You did it, Jake," she said, her voice soft. "You saved it." "Did I?" I asked, staring at the cub. It was alive, but barely, and we'd almost died out there. I kept thinking about the bear, the python, the way everything had spiraled out of control. Was it worth it? I didn't know. The door creaked open, and Tom walked in, his boots heavy on the floor. "Heard you two played heroes," he said, his voice gruff but softer than usual. "How's the cub?" "Hanging in there," Emma said, not looking at him. "No thanks to you." Tom shrugged, but there was something in his eyes, guilt, maybe. "Didn't think you'd pull it off," he said. "Most wouldn't." I didn't answer. I was too tired, too raw. I kept seeing Lily's face, hearing her voice. She'd have been proud, but she'd also have been reckless, just like me. I wondered if I was chasing her ghost, trying to fix something I couldn't. The cub stirred, letting out a soft whimper, and I felt a pang in my chest. It was alive because of us, but at what cost? Later that night, I drove home, the cub safe at the station under Emma's watch. My cabin felt emptier than usual, Lily's photo staring at me from the mantel. I sat on the couch, my hands still shaking, trying to make sense of it all. I'd saved the cub, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd crossed a line, pushed too far. What if the bear came after us? What if the python wasn't alone? Sheriff Dan's words about Vernon Holt and his missing animals kept circling in my head. This wasn't over. As I lay in bed, the forest outside was silent, but then I heard it again. That low, dragging sound, just like the night before. I sat up, my heart racing, and grabbed my flashlight. I stepped onto the porch, the beams sweeping the trees. Nothing, just darkness. But the sound came again, faint but unmistakable, from deep in the woods. Something was still out there, and it wasn't done with us.